Music is not a career, it's a lottery.
That is so true, and the really sad part is most of us, 99.9% of us, are probably never, ever going to win that lottery. Hey everybody, it's Friday. Hope you're going to have an amazing weekend. It's time once again for SMG Viewers Comments, the show that's about you, not about me. So let's skip the bullshit and get right to the question, shall we?
Great point at 0121. If you've got it, use it. To each their own, and if folks like them and want to listen to them, that's even better. For folks that are turned off by that sort of thing, they don't have to watch/listen.
Jason, you hit the nail right on the head. This is one thing I've been seeing pop up over and over and over again throughout the years. And I think I'm going to do a full-length video on this, on how this kind of idiocy keeps repeating itself. I mean, like, it's happened in the 50s, it happened in the 80s with heavy metal and the PMRC. It happened a couple of years ago there with the Pussy Melter pedal and reverb. Oh, we're banning that. We're putting a stop to that. Yeah, that worked. Hell, way to go, guys. You made it into a best-selling pedal. Now it seems to be Puritan metalheads angry that people better looking than them are more successful on YouTube. Spoiler, folks, we're a visual species. We're going to click the good-looking people. It is not a fair system in the slightest, but as we pointed out at the beginning of this video, music is very much a lottery, and if you won the genetic lottery, chances are you're going to be much more successful at fucking music. The great thing is we live in a society where we can make the choice whether or not to engage with that sort of thing. Nobody's forcing us to hit play on any of those forms of media, whether it be video, audio, whatever. Nobody's forcing you to play that stuff or listen to that stuff if it doesn't fit into your own personal scope of what you think art should be. That's the really great thing. The problem that keeps cropping up throughout the years are these self-righteous fuckheads who insist that because they don't like it, nobody else can consume it either. And to those people, I say, go fuck yourself.
Making the time. I never understood this either. I did a ski snowboard photography with some of the world's extreme skiers. There were several guys who easily could have been world famous, but when it came time to actually take the photos, they were unwilling to wait for the break in the clouds or for the light, or unable to contain their adrenaline long enough to wait for photographers to be in position or to land the right spot or whatever the case. They spent their lives practicing and honing, but when the time came to show their stuff, impatience let it all slip by. I can't tell you how often this has been the case in all sorts of genres.
Of course, you're referencing the video I just did, 13 mistakes to avoid when taking band photography. And yeah, I've seen this crop up numerous times on music video shoots, on photography shoots, where somebody in the band's just like, well, I've got something better to do. Can we just hurry this up? And they don't want to take the time and put the time into something that really counts, and that's connecting with the audience in a visual way. Once again, I come back to this thing. We have eyes. We are a visual species. It is no big secret that music was a lot better when ugly people were allowed to make it, but we've moved on from that, and now we have to have this whole visual connection. So you have to take the time to get the proper visual presentation together. And so I get it, that might not be your thing, but that is what the game is these days, and we've all got to play it. Don't shoot yourself in the foot just because you're impatient.
How I suspected you knew something about photography. None of your videos had autofocus.
Well, I did media arts at Sheridan College in Ontario, and the first thing they taught us was turn off all the auto features and learn how to shoot manual. Here's a light meter, go for it. Fortunately, now we can see exactly what the hell we're getting on screen, so that makes life a lot easier, but I still shoot with nothing but manual focus lenses. Of course, now I'm using a manual focus anamorphic for this. Isn't it lovely? I just love the anamorphic aesthetic, and I want to do a couple more gear reviews in it at some point down the road. Not over for the next couple months anyway. It's a lot more difficult to shoot in anamorphic. Just basically some of these Q&A videos and some of the scripted videos I'm doing in anamorphic because it's just an awful lot of fun, and I just dig the overall look. However, here's the insane thing. When it comes to photography, I'm usually shooting autofocus because it can nail the focus better than my eyes can. Believe it or not, these are bifocals, so my eyes aren't exactly the most reliable thing on earth to get the right focus. When I'm shooting video, I use focus peaking and a whole bunch of different tools to help me nail the focus. But when you're shooting and you've got to be right on the button, you know, the autofocus these days especially can really help you nail a shot, that's for sure. And for those of you guys who are wondering what the hell I'm talking about, please check out last Wednesday's video, 13 mistakes to avoid when taking your band photos. I think you guys are going to find a lot of useful information in there.
So, using past masters as reference, doesn't this make everything sound the same? You should start making pop music.
Okay, Leslie, you're referencing Tuesday's video where I checked out Isotope Ozone, which I thought was an incredibly cool mastering plugin. And no, there's nothing to do with pop music on this. I had a few different comments about this sort of thing, and I'm gonna try and explain these all one by one. Here's the thing about mastering. Guys go and learn from other mastering engineers and spend years and years and years training how to make their records sound commercially viable to a certain level, to a certain EQ curve, as it were, a certain sound profile. And what do? We use reference discs to get things into that ballpark. That's what I do when I'm working on a client's record. I've got a stack of CDs that I will listen to. Okay, I'll pull up like Carcass Heartwork, In Flames Clayman, Judas Priest Painkiller, Prong Cleansing. There's a whole bunch of stuff I draw on to get inspiration to get things kind of in that kind of same ballpark. All Ozone is doing is speeding up that process instead of me trying to translate it and failing miserably at doing my own mastering. This allows me to grab an EQ profile off a disc I really like and try applying it to what I'm working on. And I just happen to get some really good results with it. Here's the other thing, Leslie. I have never ever once claimed to be a mastering engineer. For really big projects, I still tell my clients, go see Phil up in Toronto at Lacquer Channel, or go talk to Maor down in LA and get him to do your master, because they're gonna be far better at it than I ever will be. But if I have to master something here in-house, yeah, you can be damn sure I am going to be reaching for Ozone.
I find it really weird that you promote those tools that basically clone mixes masterings when you were for the human element in the music. No autotune, no over-editing, drum replacement by samples. Not really a fan this direction is taking.
Okay, I'd love to address you personally, but I can't pronounce your fucking screen name. So I'll try and fucking spell it out for you. That's a really fantastic observation, but you kind of missed the point. Is that I still didn't alter any of the drum performance or any of the performances at all. That's still the guitar player on there. That's still the drummer on there. There's no drum samples going on. There's no auto-tune. There's no timeline. Nothing. That's still the fucking band. The only thing I've done is speed up the mastering process. So we have still left the human element in where it counts the most, the performance by the fucking artist. And that's what I've been saying since day one. Don't change the performance. We've got all these awesome tools to speed shit up. That's great. That's where the technology should be being applied. But when you start changing the drum performance, you start putting drum samples on top, you lose the sound of the drummer. When you start timelining everything, then everything starts to sound the same because we lose the feel and the groove of the band. In the instances that I showed, that's still there. The only thing that has been changed is the way how I approach the master. And using AI to speed that up, that's still fine because that's still my mix going on there. It's just being sped up in the master phase, which when you do the gain match and punch it in and out, it's just an EQ curve and a tiny bit of compression here and there. iZotope's managed to figure out this process to make it work for you in a way that's super efficient. In my opinion, this is the proper way how to use technology, where you can take the boring tedium out of the whole routine, where in my case it was burn a bunch of test CDs, run out to the car, bring them back in, make some tweaks, back, forth, ad nauseum. I'd spend weeks on this shit. Now I can get it done in a couple of minutes. Everything about the band is still in place though. So next time, before you crack off and try and sound smarter than everybody else, fucking pay attention.
A bit in dangerous territory here. One day, this will analyze every single track and copy the mixing secret styles of big rock bands. Then you just have to click Korn, and your mix will sound like Korn. I totally mean that. Let's say all guitars and bass are DI, and AI can tweak it to every direction. It's scary. It's a bit like auto-tune, but for mixing.
And as long as it's not altering the human performance, I really don't have a problem like that. Here's the thing, the commercial studio is going fucking bye-bye. They've been closing like crazy, and it's only going to continue as this technology gets better. And I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Here's what I'm imagining is, yeah, you could probably say make it sound like Korn, it'll make it sound like Korn, but you could probably also grab a whole bunch of other different kind of mix styles and then combine them into something new. It's like, don't try and sound just like the one thing. It's like, what if we took a little bit of this, a little bit of that from all kinds of different genres and combined it? If you could get the AI to work in that way, you could still have a bit of a creative element when it comes to your mixing. Now, the insane thing is we're already part of the way there. Part of that iZotope package that they've got on sale over the next couple weeks, they've got Neutron, and that's got some automatic mixing algorithms you can apply for bass, guitar, drums, that kind of thing, and it'll try and figure that stuff out for you. I don't know how well that's going to work. I've still got to check it out. I'll probably do a video on it at some point because I think it's worth investigating. But to sit there and think that technology is going to leave the sound engineer alone and isn't going to put us all out of a job, I think that's foolish, because the writing is on the wall and the future is going to be on desktop music production.
Automation, saving time for recording artists. Polaroid did it for photography, then digital took over. Now it's getting to audio. Cool.
Dude, that is a great observation. Polaroid came along and revolutionized photography, and then Kodak came along and came out with the digital image sensor. And then they didn't develop that technology. Guess where they are now? They're out of fucking business. That's where they are. Technology is going to move recording forward, and as long as it can leave the artist in place, I don't have a problem with that.
Number one, music is an essential part of every church service, which makes it natural that many Christians choose music as a full-time career. As a recording artist myself, a former church worship leader, biblically themed lyrics naturally find their way into my songs. It's my truth, my experience, my life, my emotion, my heart, my songs! Number two, making fun of Christians calling us gullible only serves to demean yourself as a bully and a bigot. Number three, Christian music is a valuable alternative to those Christians who don't want their kids congregants or themselves having only music that which uses satanic symbolism and lyrics, such as Running with the Devil, Van Halen, Just Call Me Lucifer, Stones, I'm on a Highway to Hell, ACDC. Even God herself will want the devil on her team, Billie E. Judas is the demon I cling to, El Gaga. Just to give a few examples of a very, very deep sea of secular artists who call upon Lucifer, Satan, devil in their lyrics. But according to you, we are all gullible for seeking music that edifies our souls instead of that music which tears down the soul and attacks our faith. Shame on you for making such an inconsiderate accusation against an entire group of people with whom you have no common understanding. That, my friend, is narrow-minded and foolish. Unsubscribe.
I have no common understanding of Christianity. Dude, I was a fucking Presbyterian for the first third of my life. The thing was, I woke the fuck up and got the hell away from the church for a myriad of reasons. Here's the thing, dude. Lyrics like Running with the Devil, okay, that's fiction. Much like in the way God created the earth in 7 days, you don't actually expect anyone to believe that shit. Nobody expects that Van Halen was actually running with the devil. Please, do me a favor and engage with reality. But I will challenge you with this, Mike, and I promise you, when you can show me peer-reviewed evidence that an amputee regrew a limb because they prayed for it, I will get my ass into church. Not only that, I will donate to your church. Yeah, like that's ever gonna happen.
Oh, the irony. Jesus rocked for success. Australia is in the middle of a huge COVID surge. Some states have even temporarily banned singing and dancing, so no concerts or gigs. So major Christian organization held a gathering that was basically a concert. The music industry is furious, but they aren't even getting fined. So apparently, if you believe in the right imaginary friend, not only is profit easy, but you don't even have to follow the rules of your community.
Yeah, we've seen that all over the place. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I left religion is because religion usually demands privilege over everyone else. We've seen it all over the place in Canada where there's been lockdowns and restrictions and whatnot trying to get the pandemic under control. And then these churches are just saying, well, those rules don't apply to us because reasons. It's like, fuck's sakes, you're not special, you're not different, you're just like everybody else. And yes, the rules do apply to you too.
Dumb question. When using the DearVR mix plugin, I would assume that I add the track into the master track of the DAW?
Not into the master track. I know you can do this on Cubase and Reaper, especially on Reaper. It's called monitor effects. What you want to do is go look up how to do that. So it actually adds it after your master effects. So it's not actually being applied to your final mixes, which is what you're going to want. For all you guys wondering what that is, that's the DearVR system that works with the Sennheiser headphones. So you can mix effectively in headphones. I had a demo up there a couple weeks ago. It's pretty fucking impressive, I gotta say. A bunch of you guys were asking if I could try out a couple different headphone mixing systems, and I think that's a fabulous idea. So I'm gonna see if I can get my hands on the Slate system as well as Sonar works as well, and Waves has one. I think I've got one of the modules downstairs. I can try it on. Should be interesting. I'll try and do the same mix with 4 different systems and just see what we get, because I know a lot of you guys working at home just don't have the space for monitors or can't turn up or anything, so headphones are kind of the only option, and I really want to see what's going to be the best option for you guys out there who are stuck in that situation.
You're a public music resource for so many. Thank you for these glimpses into what actually has an effect on the essentially EQ curve of the gear we all use. We all sometimes need less hearsay and more hear listen. See what I did there? Ooh, nobody found me funny? Well, my point stands. You're all in one of the best guitar communities on the interweb.
Oh, thanks so much, dude. I really appreciate that. This is the thing. I mean, as guitar players, especially as a kid growing up in the 80s, there wasn't a way to verify a lot of what was told. You know, we basically had to learn what we could from the guys who ran the local guitar stores. And once I opened up the studio, you know, I was able to start putting things to the test, but it's when we got these, the reamp box. This is what really changed things for guitar tone for me anyway, because suddenly I'm able to apply different changes to a guitar signal and keep the exact same performance so we can hear what's actually being changed. You know, that tube test video I did there last year, I did that with reamping, and a bunch of guys were like, oh, well, how about this video here? How about this video here? Or how about this video here? And it's like, well, he's playing something different every single time in these tests. So we've really got no way of knowing, because even if you move your hand further up or down the neck, you're going to get a different tone. It's only when you can run the exact same performance the same way that we're able to get a quantifiable measurement of the change in tone. And when it came to vacuum tubes, it wasn't a tone change, it was an amplitude change. Now, I was basically virtually tarred and feathered in a lot of online forums for making that video because I dared question tube dogma. Turns out it's a lot like religion. It's all bullshit. But my ultimate goal here isn't to rub people's noses in it, it's trying to save you guys some money. And if you want a real fundamental shift in your tone, put different speakers into your guitar cabinet. That's going to give you the massive tone shift you're looking for. Still working on my cabinet tone shootout video, and that hopefully will be out next week. If not next week, the week after. There's a lot of work involved, and just making sure I can get everything set up so I can get measurable results and not have any kind of variables. That's very, very, very tough. Anyway, stay tuned. It'll be coming out very soon. I do appreciate your patience in this. It's definitely going to be worth the wait.
I gave up trying to be a rock star in 1999 and started a factory/opened a company. Turns out I'm a better factory owner than musician, with over 10 million net worth. Many people I know are great musicians and are broke. Choose the right path, people. I could have made a big mistake back then and be living in a van down by the river right now. I still write and record and play in bands, only when I have time and when it's fun.
Well, Ron, that's the thing, man. You got to ask yourself, are you having fun? Do you enjoy running that factory? Is that giving you a satisfying life? It might very well be. I know I wasn't satisfied with life working on an assembly line, but I powered through it so I could open up a studio, and by some miracle, I wound up getting to do YouTube for a living. And for that, I thank each and every single one of you guys who comes back week after week after week for this show. And believe me, I couldn't have done it without you, and I'm eternally grateful to all of you. Even the Butthurt pastor there from a couple comments back. Dude, I'm so sorry you're unsubscribing. Here's the thing about my show, though. I might say some things you don't like from time to time. Try not to run away when you're confronted with ideas that might challenge you. Anyway, about your 10 million net worth, congratulations, dude. If money is your goal and that's what you want out of life, fucking go for it. But for a lot of people, especially young people coming out into the workforce these days, it doesn't make any sense to work because it doesn't matter how hard you work, the only reward for working hard is more work. And the rental market and the housing market has been priced so astronomically high. Most young people aren't going to be able to afford homes. Now they've got cases where kids aren't having families, but they're banding together with their friends to get partial ownership of a home. Something is seriously fucking wrong with that situation. And there needs to be a correction in the housing market or everything's just gonna fucking implode. So for those people coming out of school these days and wondering what they're gonna do, I just recommend take a really good look at the situation. Ask yourself, what are you going to get for all that hard work? Is there gonna be any benefit at all? Are you gonna get a home? Can you afford to have kids? Can you afford to do anything? And if the answer is no, my suggestion is just fucking play music and don't fucking work for some asshole who's going to get rich off your labor. Let me spell it out for you. This is the only life we get. Spend it doing what you want to do.
This might be a challenging thing to test, but there's a really huge tonal difference or functional advantage to playing a guitar with a bolt-on versus set neck versus neck-through neck design. People say bolt-on necks give a snappier tone, but that neck-through gives best sustain and projects the tone of the wood the best. But of course, that could all be BS. If you have any thoughts on this, please share them.
Well, I haven't been able to make that test, so fucked if I know, man. There might be something to it. Chances are it might be bullshit because as we checked out the Tonewood video there wasn't really a shift in tone. And if there was, it was probably about that fucking big. So set through neck versus bolt on and neck through and all that, I would imagine, again, if there's any difference, it's probably going to be about this much. But then again, if there's a guitar builder out there that wants to build me two light guitars, one with a neck through and one with a bolt on, I'd be more than willing to put that to the test to see exactly what happens.
What is the benefit to recording a 4x12 or a 2x12? I get the larger cab might have more low end, but I usually end up cutting out the very bottom of these guitars to leave more room for the bass and kick anyway.
Even if you wind up cutting out a lot of that low end, there's still going to be a big difference in the lower mids and mid range and the top end. It's just has something to do with the size of the chamber behind the speaker. Carcass, most famously on their Heartwork record, got their tone because they got two 4x12s, took the backs off them and duct taped them together and closed off the back cabinet. They took all the speakers out and then sealed it up with some plywood circles and whatnot, and got this big airtight chamber behind the regular size 4x12. So they had this massive double sized cabinet. So they just got this amazing tone, and it wasn't just the bottom end, it affected the whole thing. I've been talking with my friend Steve, and we're thinking about actually building one of these things. I'm gonna be looking for a couple different cabinets, see what we can find, and see if we can build a Franken cab and just put it to the test and see what happens. Yes, cabinet size is going to have a gigantic effect in your tone. And whether or not the cabinet material makes any difference, well, we're going to measure for that. Just stay tuned because it's coming out real soon.
Doesn't this prove that speakers are really a terrible loss in the signal chain? You could EQ and post-edit straight out from a PC instead of getting all that lossiness and compression from these non-flat speakers and mics.
Yes, a speaker is basically a very complex EQ curve. Here's the thing, if you record right out of your amp, it's going to sound like shit. You need that speaker, you need that microphone, and that's where the sound is. Don't believe me? Hook your amp up to your PC and see how awesome it sounds without some kind of a speaker or speaker simulation going on there. One sounds very fucking awful, one sounds pretty fucking rockin'. And that's where the fun is. That's where the art is in creating guitar tone.
God damn it, Glenn! It's 12 dB, not 12 dBs. Fuck! Sorry, just busting your balls, but really, it's just dB, not dBs.
Well, thanks for pointing that out for me, Evan. Clearly, you're much smarter than all of us. By the way, it's Glenn, not Glenn, you fucking idiot.
I actually like that despite Glenn's harsh exterior, he actually seems to care, gives the best advice, and empathizes with the position that most working class musicians are in. Wouldn't have it any other way. Never change, Glenn.
And I don't plan on it. The whole point of this show has been consumer advocacy for the working home musician and recording artist, because that's what I was for many, many, many years. I worked my ass off for every piece of gear I owned and usually had to pay just under double for what something would cost if I went over and bought it in the States. And then if you bought it on Canadian retail, it'd be more than double, because Canadian retailers are definitely looking out for the consumer. Seriously though, when I find really cool deals that come up, I'm gonna let you guys know, because I want to pass that on to you guys. As they said in Galaxy Quest, by Grapthar's Hammer, The Savings. Fantastic movie. I just watched that again not too long ago. It was a really phenomenal piece of cinema. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week. Thanks so much for writing. Thanks for commenting. I do appreciate everybody who wrote in, even the smart people who had a problem with my ozone review. Once again, not changing the artistic performance, guys. That's the important part. Sorry that subtle metaphor got lost on you. Next time, I'll try and spell it out a little bit more clearly. I'll even use a writing format you can understand.